Hello girls, gays, and non-binary babes. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are kicking off spooky season with a video I've been wanting to do for a while. I've just been kind of collecting the books that I've been wanting to talk about and reading them. I actually don't physically own any of these, so I will be throwing up pictures as we go. But today we're talking about disturbing books that might give you a little tickle in the back of your throat, make you feel a little sick to your stomach. Personally, I kind of like a book that does that. Any book that can like get those feelings out of you is an impressive book to me. It's one thing to like visually see something, but to have it like described to you and to like see it in your head and want to throw up from it is its own special kind of horror. So yeah, whether you like really gross, gory books or not, I hope you get something from this video. If you don't like gory books, honestly, maybe don't read any of these. You can watch the video. The video is not gonna be gross, but the books are gross, and yeah, we'll talk about it. The book I want to kick everything off with is one of the more popular ones that people have read. So if you're not familiar with like body horror, gross out horror books, this one is like this one's like the baseline for everything else on this list. So you kind of, if you've read it, you can kind of get an idea of like what kind of horror we're gonna be talking about. Anyway, that is Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by, I have this one, hold on. Yes, here it is. Okay. Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca. This is the one that's most popular. It went viral when it first came out, and it's kind of shocking that this went as viral as it did because of the nature of the book. It talks a lot about like parasites and like a parasite kink, and it's interesting. It is a very short story, and it's pretty much takes place solely through like emails and like an email relationship between these two women, and it ends up taking a very dark turn. And I mean, it starts off fairly dark and then it takes an even darker turn. Okay, so like the blurb, is that the synopsis of the book says, a whirlpool of darkness churns at the heart of a macabre ballet between two lonely young women in an internet chat room in the early 2000s. A darkness that threatens to forever transform them once they finally succumb to their most horrific desires. Very strange. If you like gross out horror, I think this one is a good baseline for everything else. Like I said, everything else that we're going to talk about today. The next two are by the same author, and one is very similar to Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. So I'm going to talk about those next. The first one being Tell Me I'm Worthless. This is by Allison Rumfitt. So this one is primarily about a woman who, that was my dog yawning. This book is primarily about a young woman who we're kind of getting like flashbacks, like we're having like two different timelines going on, and one is in the past when she was in this haunted house with two friends, and now and then like the other timeline is that it's present day, and she's like looking back on that and what happened and dealing with all this different stuff. And it's so hard to explain in a way that really encapsulates what the book is about, because like the book isn't like about that, but it's also about that, you know? I don't think that makes any sense at all, but we're gonna go with it. It was really good, and I would highly recommend it if you're looking for like trans horror that pulls from like gothic literature and like kind of like a punk style. Very uncomfortably disturbing, which is Alison Rumfitt style. So yeah. Moving into the next one, Brainworms by Alison Rumfitt. This one, is this one even out yet? I'm not sure. I read an arc of this, and I will say I liked it a lot better than Tell Me I'm Worthless. I think the story was overall more easily understandable, more digestible, for lack of a better word. No pun intended. Is this one out? October 10th, 2023. It's not out. It's out October 20th. It's out October 10th. So definitely check it out when it comes out, but we're gonna talk about it anyway because it was good. Was it a little too much for me? Yes. That's the only problem I had with it though. It was fantastic, honestly. So this one is more inherently about transphobia, and it kind of depicts transphobia as like a parasite that kind of takes over your brain and turns you into somebody completely different, somebody like some different kind of animal. And I think this handled that really well, and I think about this a lot, like how easy it is to get sucked into that transphobic mindset, and like how it genuinely takes over people and it's the only thing they are. And it was just really, really well done, and I really liked it. It was very disturbing. It does go into like the parasite kink again. It's very stomach churning and grotesque, we'll say. The next book I want to talk about is Mayfly. I can't remember who this is by, but this was so good. This was so good, so good. I read this one a few months ago. I've talked about it in a couple videos, just because I really liked it so much. It was like the pinnacle of support. I support women's wrongs. Like, this person is terrible, but I love her. So this one follows Mayfly, who she essentially works at, it's kind of like said but not said, she essentially works at Disney and plays, I think she plays Elsa or something, one of like the Frozen characters. And this is what she does during the day. This is her job, and she works with kids all day and all this different stuff. She kind of hates her job. She does drugs on her break with the girl who plays Anna, and it's like kind of hilarious in like an absurd way. But anyway, she has this life. It's not her favorite thing, but you know, gets her through the day. I think one of her friends' brothers she meets him, and there's like this whole story happening between them two. And again, these like really disturbing kinks with like body horror. There's a curling iron involved. There's eye trauma. It's like a whole thing, and it's really fucked up. And then it ends up turning into this American Psycho-esque story, and I'm just a little obsessed with it. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little obsessed with Maeve, and I think like my review of this book on Goodreads was I'm a little obsessed with Maeve and a little terrified of the author. So that is my official review of this book. It was absolutely fantastic though. I love books that show somebody like slowly losing their mind and all that good stuff. It's like my favorite thing ever. I love a good book about psychology, especially if it's a woman. I'm obsessed. Next is another favorite. That is Sister, Maiden, Monster by, I don't remember who. So I think the best way to describe this is exactly how the synopsis explains it. There's an apocalypse going on. A virus tears across the globe, transforming its victims in nightmarish ways. As the world collapses, dark forces pull a small group of women together. Erin, once quiet and closeted, acquires an appetite for a woman and her brain. Yeah. Savannah, a professional BDSM switch, discovers a new turn-on committing brutal murders for her eldritch masters, and Mareva, plagued with chronic tumors, is too horrified to acknowledge her divine role in the coming apocalypse. As her growths multiply, so too does her desperation. So these women, the storyline ends up like converging. It's very, I really just cannot get over the ending of this book. It was just so phenomenal. There was one particular scene, which I will never forget in this book, that involved eating a brain, and it haunts me to this day. It like makes me squeamish a little bit. It makes me want to throw up because it was just so disgustingly explained. And honestly, I love it. It's very fucked up. If you want a very body horror, disturbing apocalypse book, I think this one is like fairly, not realistic, like as far as apocalypses go. It's very realistic in the sense of like human psychology and how that work in an apocalyptic situation. This one's the best on the list. If you read any of these, read this one. Fantastic. Can't recommend it enough. And the final book that I want to talk about was recommended to me so many times, and it's like the outlier on this list. And if you've read it, you'll know why. It's less like gore disturbing and more like content, taboo themes disturbing. And I will explain that in a second. Anyway, I'm talking about Earthlings. I can't remember the author's name, but the picture of it will be here. This was recommended to me so many times, and I almost didn't read it. Did I think this was like the best book ever? No, but I do see why people would like it so much, and I see the appeal. And I see why it's generally considered a good book. So this one is disturbing for its content on like incest and that stuff. It's very, this is probably like one of the books that has made me the most uncomfortable when I was reading it, not because of like gross out factor, but just because of like, it's uncomfortable to read about incest like this. And I don't know, the way it was written, like I appreciate how it was written. It was written in a way that it's just deeply uncomfortable, but very mundane. It's like explained in a mundane way, and that just makes it all the more strange. So this one is about a girl who grows up with like a crush on her cousin, and she thinks she's from outer space. No, she doesn't think she's from outer space. She has like a stuffed porcupine, I think, and she's convinced herself that he came from outer space and that he's talking to her. And it's just a very overall strange book, but it talks about like societal expectations and like expectations of normalcy and being a normal person. And I can kind of see like where it was going, but like the whole incest thing, it just made me like too uncomfortable to like give this book a 5 stars, because I was like, there's like so much incest in this. Very, very strange. But I get the whole like society thing, and not like society in like 2014 Tumblr kind of way. It's a very wise take on societal expectations, and I really enjoyed it. Just very disturbing. It was a very disturbing train to get to that destination, you know? So yeah, very strange. This one's probably, again, one of the more popular ones on this list, but yeah, disturbing in a different way, but it definitely deserved to be on this list. And that is going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoy these books. If you've read them, let me know. If you have more recommendations for me, let me know. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you know me in real life, no you don't. I did not make this. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.